down to him.
Right.
And then we also see that, like in Daniel, the prince of Persia withheld Gabriel 21 days when Gabriel was coming to Daniel.
Right.
And it took Michael to come down and help Daniel fight against him.
Right. That's in Daniel chapter 10. If you look at Daniel chapter 10, you have the prince of these different nations. These different nations, they call it a prince. They're also the Elohim that are fighting in the heavenlies. There's a battle going on above us at times, and every now and then again we're allowed to peel back and see that. Cohen brings up an interesting point in regard to your comment about Matthew 4. Did he really have the ability to give him the realms of this earth, or was he just trying to see if Yeshua would surrender to him? Interesting question there. But all that to say, I want to move you to Deuteronomy chapter 32, just for a moment. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8, because it speaks here of El Elyon again. Okay, the Most High. By the way, all of these, I mentioned this, all of these are created beings. All these Elohim are created. So here's what happens. In verse 8, Deuteronomy 38:2-8, we have a text critical issue. It's very important that we understand that, because both the Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls have a much different reading, and I would go with those two being earlier than what we have in other texts. You can see I can show you the work on this, but most of your translations are going to say B'nai Yisrael. The translation should read B'nai Elohim. Let me show you the text. Deuteronomy 32:8 says, "When the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of and most of your translations will say, B'nai Yisrael." Well, he never established the nations based on B'nai Yisrael. In fact, he tells Israel, you only get a portion of land. And in fact, we find out in the Torah, he says, you can't attack Edom because they were your brothers. You can't attack these people because they're also related to you. You can't mess with the Moabites. You can't mess with the Ammonites. Okay? Because these are related peoples. So he was never saying to Israel, I want you, Israel, to conquer the world and to have control of the nations. Never a time there's only one who is to have control of the nations. That would be Yahweh.
Yeah.
Not Israel. Now, Israel might be a mechanism that he uses to bring about his Torah and the rule of the nations, but it was never Israel's job to be a militant group that would go and conquer all the nations. So he establishes the B'nai Elohim and says to them, you will rule over these areas. You will report to me what's going on in these areas. What did they do? When they were given the authority, derived authority, to go and look at the nations and to see what the nations were doing and to report back to him, they said, hey, let's rebel. We can take over our area. We can be the God of our area. And we can live in this realm, and we can influence and manipulate what's going on in these areas. Then what did he do? Because of that, they had to be cast out. They had to be thrown out because they rebelled. So what does he say in Psalm 82? He says, you're going to die like men. You're going to die and become mortal just as that's their judgment. Their judgment is just the same as ours. They do not get immortality. Because if we believe in him, and place our faith in him, that's the only way we have immortality. And Paul says, this mortal must put on immortality. So he says, now what was the issue? What was the issue? These gods were supposed to influence the world leaders to be just and righteous, to help the most afflicted people in the world, to help the marginalized, so to speak, to make sure that the poor and the needy, those without clothes, those without food, were taken care of. Instead, what did they do? They continued to abuse these people. They didn't give them any recourse in the courts. In fact, bribery and favoritism occurred in the courts. And it's still going on today. Yes.
So that tells you why all these other religions do not have a living God.
Yes.
Because Buddha and all of those, there's no living God to look forward to.
Yes. And I want to say this. I'm glad you brought this up. We have those in the Messianic movement. There's those in the Messianic movement because this movement is messy. And I call it messy antics. I'm going to end with this. We have those in this movement who believe in universalism.
Oh, wow.
They believe that all these other gods, name them from different areas, different places, that all these are really those people's way of saying Yahweh, or the one true God. So they just gave him a different name than we did. And so all these paths are leading to one place. They're just coming at it from a different direction. But we're all headed the same direction. So whether it's Buddha or Shintoism or all these other, that's just another name. Those are just other names for the same God. And I say to that, baloney.
You're politer than I am.
That is messed up. It's not the same. There's only one.
It's not biblical.
One true, one. It's not biblical to say, well, you can worship the stars. If that religion worships the stars and venerates the stars, you can do that too, and follow. That will lead you to the one true God. It may be a kind of curvy path, but you'll get to the same place. No.
It's a
You would
wide
have-
one. It's a wide path.
It's a very wide path that leads to
And
destruction.
you would have to include Baal, Satan.
Satan, Baal, Molech, name them all. You can name them all. My point is this. We have those in the Messianic movement that hold to this kind of view. That everybody's going to get there. They're just going to get there on a different path. Okay?
So bizarre.
And that they're all going to kind of come, and I'm trying to tell you, look, universalism doesn't work at all. Because there's no way you can reconcile Buddhism and all these other world religions with worship of the one true God. They require you to worship that one and to venerate this one and to obey this one. And it's like, no, there's only one. There is only one. And so this is the problem. We have those, they want to be compassionate and they want to be gentle with everybody and say, well, you know, look, I know you're on your path, I'm on my path. Who am I to judge you? You know, we're all getting there. It's just we got to all get there a different way. And I'm saying, look, Yeshua is very clear to say, there's one path, there's one God, there's one faith, one flock, one shepherd. There's not every path leading to the same place. Yes.
Well, and by their own confession, they are hypocrites and confused. For them, why be Messianic if I can just be a Christian, a Sunday morning go to meeting Christian, live my life because it still gets to heaven. That same argument holds fast to that, where actually it says, you know, keep fast to the Torah, keep fast to my commandments. If you love me, you're going to keep my commandments versus, so why be a Messianic if that's what you believe? Might as well just go back to your Sunday go to meeting church.
Well, they think that the path, once you get there, once you get to the end goal of the path, then you'll be there. So it's the end. You get the end game. Yeah.
You almost got where I was going to say a minute ago. Yeshua said that he was the way,
Yes.
The truth and
the
life.
true flock. Anyone that comes any other way, tries to get in any other way, is a thief and a robber.
Right. Yeah. You can't have 30,000 different ways.
And what fellowship can there be
Right.
between light and darkness?
Right. And what I'm saying is this: here's the point. Is that all these others are darkness. They mask themselves in light. But behind all of that light, that superficial light, is nothing but veiled darkness. It's evil.
One more thing. Satan's biggest goal is to get you worshiping him, thinking you are worshiping the one true God.
Right. Yeah, I think that false religion is probably the easiest way for the evil one to get people moving in the wrong direction, because it's religious, it's devotion, it has a lot of things that people want, and yet there's so much untruth in it and so much anti-scripture in it that where it ultimately leads is not to a path of righteousness and obedience of God's word, but it leads you into death.
Thinking they are doing right.
But all the while, I don't want to say that these individuals aren't sincere. That's not my point.
Oh, no.
They're very sincere.
Sincerely wrong.
Sincerely wrong. And so there's paths that are not righteous that one can go down. And you can say, well, I want to get involved in this. I want to get involved in that. There's people that want to mix and match.
They come knocking on your door, they're very sincere.
Yes. I had an individual who came to me and said they wanted to go. This was during one of the festivals, one of the biblical festivals. And they said they wanted to go down, and by the way, there's a big push for this within, again, Messianic circles at the times. I'm saying that this is within groups that call themselves Messianics. And he wanted to go and pray to the four winds of the Indian gods.
Huh? Whoa.
This is American.
This is the Messianic.
What books do you read?
And I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go pray to the four winds of the. He sent me this in an email. So can we all go meet down, the congregation meet down at the, at Gig Harbor and do the, we pray to the gods of the four winds. And I went, no, not going to happen. And this individual is still in the Messianic movement. Calls himself a Messianic. And I'm telling you, it's deceptive, and it sucks people in. It's very, very deceptive, yes.
So just to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, because it sounds like there's a little blurring of the line here. Obviously, worshiping something like this out of the picture. But the comment earlier sounded like you said, like one of you guys, Bill said that worshiping the right God in the wrong way is actually worshiping Satan.
I never said that.
No.
He didn't say it.
Misunderstood.
No, he didn't say it either. No.
Okay.
He
No.
said
What I'm saying
coming
is-
in a different path is bad.
Right.
You can't like use Buddha or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is these different religions are basically they're veiled darkness. They appear as light, but it's really darkness.
They're satanic in origin.
They're satanic in origin. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. Is the evil one can use these because you look at it and go, well, it's got some good principles, it's got some good stuff, it's not all bad. And by the way, the evil one's not going to throw a bunch of bad at you because then you look at it and go, well, okay, I reject that because it's all bad. There's got to be enough light in it and enough in it that you just kind of go, oh, well, okay, that looks pretty good. And you start down that path. And as soon as you start down that path, you realize, okay, this is messed up. And it's not the true God, it's not the living God of the Hebrew Scriptures, as manifested in Yeshua the Messiah. So you start on another path. Even though people will tell you, and that's the danger, oh, well, hey, look, I understand I understand how they go about it. This is your path. This is your path. Who am I to tell you you're wrong? You find your way, I'll find my way. We'll all get there in the end. By going the direction that we think we should go. And if you call him by this and I call him by that, oh, well, hey, whatever. It's just nomenclature. It's just a name. Names are names and names are names, whatever. But we're all going to get there because we're all aiming at the same direction. And I'm thinking, no, if you're worshiping stars and you're worshiping some other things, if you're mixing things that have nothing to do with the Scriptures, and that the Torah says, no, you cannot do that, then it's not Yahweh, it's not Yeshua. And how you know is, ask yourself, are they bringing in things that are anti-Torah? Is it mixing things that have nothing to do? And they bring in, I'll give you another thing they bring in, mysticism.
Yeah.
Mysticism, that there's a secret knowledge that everybody has to have. There's some secret codes and some secret knowledge.
That's Gnosticism.
That's Gnosticism. And the way you draw close to God is by knowing the secret codes and the secret words. Okay? And so if you have all the secret codes and all the secret knowledge, this will draw you near to God. Very, very dangerous, because it's just not the case. So, you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say that in reading the Bible over and over again, you can see where people cherry pick the things out that they It's in the Bible, but they put a different slant to it, you know, and it's pathetic because they only go off on one thing. They don't. pull
Yeah,
it
always be
together.
careful of the denomination or the group or whatever that is a soloist. If it's not a symphony,
Yeah.
then you have to be careful because you need to hear the symphony. You got to hear the whole orchestra, not just one trumpet. Okay, groups that just want to trumpet one thing. Generally, I see them go off kilter. Generally, not always, but I mean, it becomes problematic. You have to have the full counsel of God. They take in the full text. You know,
But,
and,
you know, it isn't just the Messianics that.
no, I'm just happy to say that.
Because
Look,
when I was only about 10 or 11, my mother passed away, and we never went to church. I've never been to church in my life. And as I got a little older, I was reading about Allah. And I said to my aunt, "Who's Allah?" And she said, "Well, that's just another way to worship."
yeah, universalism.
Yeah,
It's a universal approach.
yeah, so, you know,
Right, and what I'm saying is within our own movement, I'm criticizing my own at this point, or those that say that they're Messianics, Torah observant, you know, that there are those who want to go towards universalism. And they do some things, and here's another one. Here's another one, just real quick.
I know more.
So I'm trying to warn because there's things out there. There are those who veil this mysticism. They veil this mysticism in spiritual warfare language. They talk about spiritual warfare, and what they're really talking about is secret codes and secret knowledge. That's also, you have to understand some of their language. Now, to you and I, to some of us, you say spiritual warfare. So, well, okay, I mean, that sounds harmless enough. Okay, but when they're using that language, they don't mean with spiritual warfare what you might mean by it. They're